I think we're all here now.
Are we all here? Can I get a mic check from Sam real quick?
Mic check.
All right, I'm going to turn you up just a little bit. But yeah, you came in. Hi, hello, welcome back, everybody. It's good to have you. We had a recap last game, which I think went pretty well. So, without much further ado, I'd like to, as quickly and quietly and carefully as we can, slip right back into game. Let's see here. Where last we had left our intrepid heroes. Yeah, you guys are basically heroes at this point. A lot of the shit you've been doing has been pro bono, and even then the pay has been terrible enough that you're either crazy to stick with the job, or you're doing it for good reasons. So when last we left our intrepid heroes, they were taking some well-deserved time off. The west side of Nyanzaru, Gnome Town, the halfling and gnome village within the port city, had begun early their hatching day celebrations. The origin day, the day that marks, at least by the accounts of the rock gnomes, the day when gnomes became a thing. A number of you had not gone to the celebration just yet. Following up on Sana's condition in the clinic and following up on a favor owed to a friend, both Alina and Karn were embroiled in a secret society, the Koboloi people, through Rua. Karn currently is spending the evening with the Koboloi Warren, while Alina is watching over Sana's recovering form, with Salin nearby, Lloyd within earshot, watching and waiting for either signs of change or for Jean de la Croix to come and take over the shift of watching the child. The party over in Gnome Town had been celebrating and trying out different attractions, trying out different games, winning different prizes. Sometimes and as a tight-knit group, sometimes spreading off and rubbernecking in different directions, but more or less together. That togetherness came to a somewhat abrupt end, as Biff, you saw signs of the island's deity, quote-unquote, defender, their patron giant turtle. You saw gouts of steam in the distance. He likes the former name. You saw gouts of steam in the distance, and you recognized immediately that Aramag was in town or near town. Bones caught the glance of her former boss and now perhaps co-conspirator, Nurixus Torin, suggesting that she follow. She excused herself from the group, leaving her wizard, her pet wizard, to the careful guidance and protection of the rest of the party, going her own separate way. Let's see, where are we on the map? Let's see, to that end, I think I'd like to begin with Bones, then move over to the Gnome Town party, check in on Biff, and then see where it goes from there.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. One moment, please. Bones, as you break away from your party, you follow in the brisk but discernible footsteps of Nurixus Torin. You are familiar with his movements, you are familiar with his patterns. You've modeled a lot of your skills and a lot of your own patterns around his level of finesse. weaving in and out of alleyways, sharp corners, slipping into crowds and such. As you follow him, you mostly catch glimpses and flourishes of his cloak. It's hard to spot him, but his trail is unmistakable. As you are led eastward from Gnometown through byways and narrow ways toward what you recognize as the Merchant Prince's villa. Following in his wake, you manage to find a gap in the well-patrolled wall and slip in through this gated community that is usually more well-protected, finding that some of the lanterns have not been lit, and some of what you would expect to be armed mercenaries patrolling are decidedly absent. The Merchant Prince's villa is quiet. It is not as nearly as festive. It seems almost empty. And you can imagine with the partying happening right next door, a lot of people might just be out. The princes themselves have shown interest in festivities in the past. They are not so regal and uppity to keep to themselves when there is festivity and pie to be had elsewhere in town. To that end, you are led as Nerixus walks in plain view, you in his wake, to a broad but well-appointed wood and brick building, and are led around the back. You recognize that this is a domicile. This is someone's home. You may roll a check if you'd like to determine whose this might be, if it rings any bells.
Sure. Yeah. Because I've been in What's-His-Face's house before, so...
You've been in Wakanga's, so you know this area. It's not like you're a haunt or anything, but you would be familiar with some of these places.
Would that be insight or history, or what would you like? Investigation? Perception?
I'd say investigation or history.
No,
with a 19 investigation, you pick out that there are some tells from this house. There are some the lack of fine details and the lack of fine statues and hedgework and artful decoration clues you in that this is the personal abode of Akeni Afa, a former champion, a former Colosseum fighter who rose to power as a merchant prince, or princess as it would be in her case. Her exports and her monopoly, it's less of a monopoly these days, are on specifically Tekallan weaponry, native fighting gear. If anyone is to make, a Yakilwa or a similar, or Golox, for instance, they would have to have her blessing in Nyanzaru to do it. Hence, monopoly.
Yeah.
One moment, please.
And my not her weapons.
You were led in through a back door and through into a very dimly lit home, very dimly lit interior. There are numerous trophies and items and baubles and bits, and it definitely looks more homey and more lived in than the opulent mansion that was Wakanga's. You do see, as you pass through one hallway, a number of weapons on display on racks and walls. What looks to be a small smithy. Not nearly as robust as Thorax, but definitely the equipment and gear and materials that a person who still fights or appreciates fighting would have for repairing or building their own things. As Nerixus leads you to a door at one corner of the building, You see candlelight kind of flickering beneath the tall oaken door, and you hear some murmuring, some muttering, some voices. And he looks at you, inclines his head. You may see some familiar faces. As he opens the door.
I mean, I've been following Nurixus forever. I'll keep following him.
All right. You are led inside into a smaller room with a wide dinner table. No food has been set. At this table, you recognize several faces. The first one, who kind of perks up upon seeing you, is a white-haired, balding gnome. The top of his head is quite bald. The sides are kind of frizzy and fluffed. Upon his eyes, you expect to see a pair of wide-set, thick spectacles, but those have been folded and set aside upon the table. This is Wilworm Wittershins.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah, you know him.
I commandeered his basement.
Basically, one of the local community leaders, whose basement you commandeered. You worked with him during Zilrus' siege. And his fuzzy brows go high as he inclines his head toward you, and nods as though there was a realization on his face. Beside him, at the center of the table, dressed in slightly more opulent and well-cut silks, is Wakanga Otamu. He looks pleased, as he always does, fingers steepled, his many rings kind of clinking and clacking together, as a wry smile crosses his lips. He likewise seems unsurprised to see you brought into the fold. Beside him, on the other side of the table, is a stout, broad-faced dwarf. You recognize seeing him. The last time you had seen him was on the Deliverance, Baron and Saltcutter. You know him as a local bard of some renown. He has connections with the Commission, and up until now, he just seemed like a performer. Nurixus takes a standing position near the table between Wilworm and Wakanga, and he gestures toward you, ushering you closer.
Yeah, I'll step closer, but I'm not going to sit yet. I don't think I've been invited to, so I'll wait.
Yeah. As you do, Wilworm nods in your direction. Oh, Mrs. DeFerrin. I can't say that I'm surprised.
Thank you.
I suppose we should be bidding you welcome. This is this collection. We refer to ourselves as the Triceratops Society. It is kind of a silly name, but I think it has a certain mystique to it. Wakanga just kind of chuckles and bows his head, nodding. Wilhelm is in charge of infrastructure, planning, economics. I myself am more gauged toward existential threats of magical origin. The many myths, the many legends that may pose threats to Ganzaru as a whole. Baronin nods to Wakanga, glances at you. Well, Baronin Saltcutter, I think we've met a few times. I mostly work with the bards, local rumor mills, information gathering and the like, making sure that certain things remain secret that should be secret, and certain truths are massaged so that the locals don't lose their heads over them.
Important work.
Torn glances between the other three. And I would presume you understand what my role is in all of this. There are more, but not all of us can meet at once at any given time.
Of course, that'd be dangerous.
They all kind of nod in your direction. Triceratops Society works together to guide the city and ensure the collective growth as a whole. As often as we can, we prefer to do this lawfully, but that is not always the option that we have available to us. Sometimes certain unsavory tactics must be employed to ensure the town's prosperity.
Bunch just nods. She's on board with this.
Woolworm picks up his spectacles and begins to gently clean them on his shirt before placing them on his head, on his nose, to look both toward you and then toward his compatriots. Typically speaking, we pass messages along through notes, encoded runic here and there. Not usually do we meet like this, but Torin said that there was someone who would be brought into the fold. So this is a bit of an occasion. Indeed, a bit of an occasion.
Bones nods. So, I used to be Inquisitor Darkmoon, and as of tomorrow, I'll be Chairwoman DeFerrin of New Haven.
They all kind of nod. Wakanga rubs his chin a little bit, and you can see he's kind of pulling on his beard ever so slightly, the gears turning. It would seem there would be need for more than just one society at this point, if there will be two cities working together. Having a line of communication would be necessary, and expanding our numbers would be necessary as well.
Bones nods thoughtfully.
Torin folds his arms and inclines his head. Ms. DeFerrin, I have never known you to hesitate when it comes to doing the right thing. I would not be so naive as to think you would flinch from such an overture. If you are willing, we would have you as part of our society. If not, I would trust you not to speak of it, so that we may retain our secrecy for as long as it may be deemed necessary.
I would be happy to join such august company.
He nods and takes a step out from behind Woolworm and pulls from the inside of his cloak a little black book. He hands it to you.
I'll take it.
Within our series of glyphs and encoded translations, you may use this to parse our notes as we send them when we cannot meet in person. I would expect you to memorize this and burn it as soon as you can.
One more language for the pile.
One more language for the pile. He then reaches back into his breast pocket and pulls out a black metal ring and hands it to you. As you look it over in your palm, you see that on the knuckle is emblazoned a skull of a Triceratops. Only reveal that ring to those who you know are among the society. They will not question you upon seeing it.
Bones nods and puts it in a separate pocket, but I imagine Bones has like 8 million pockets, even in her civilian clothes.
Pockets within pockets. Pockets within pockets. It's just layers. Your closest are assumed to be in your council. I have seen them fight with you and for you. if they can be trusted to disavow any knowledge of our organization, you may mete out information as you deem appropriate. He glances to those at the table. We are under no false pretenses that our names will go down in anything but a negative light. Eventually the truth will be revealed in the things that we have done that have not been above the table will be aired. But we intend to do as much good as we can while we have the option to do so. Know that if the boot should fall and the truth is revealed about our society, such a fate could befall your reputation as well. This is not a threat. It is the truth of the invisible hands that guide cities everywhere.
I don't take it as a threat, but merely the warning that it is.
He nods his head and closes his eyes for several seconds. And you see not quite a smirk, but you do see his jowls do shift and change, and the closest thing to a smile that you might expect on his face. As of right now, we are still within recovery planning, as well as the migration south. Our jobs and resources are set for the next few days. But should anything come to our attention, a project, or perhaps intelligence that we think you may find interesting, you will be made aware of it.
Thank you.
In the meantime, I believe you are on a date.
I am. I probably should get back before he wanders off.
Wilworm seems to grin and he places his hands on his knees, excited at the prospect. Oh, to be young and full of vinegar. All right, well, good chat. Welcome to the club. If you need anything, you know where we live.
I'll send a copy of my notes, Otamu, before I leave.
I would be greatly appreciative. Thank you. With that, Torn moves to escort you out.
Yep.
So, you guys leave out the way you came, and then there's a long walk back toward Gnome Town. The two of you were not bothered throughout the duration. It would seem that patrols are light tonight. Certain lanterns are left unlit, and some gates are left unlocked. Which map to use? That's the one. That's the map we're going to use. Eventually, the sounds of celebration and noisy, jovial nonsense becomes quite apparent. As the crowds begin to thicken and grow more well-populated, more well-traveled, there's more visibility and more people glancing and catching glimpses of you. Torn begins to slow. I believe you know the rest of the way. I will be returning to them. There's more to discuss, but for now, I will leave you to your festival.
It feels strange to hand in my resignation tomorrow.
He purses his lips and nods.
I'll just nod to him, and I'll take the ceiling road. I can just go up.
You just go up. And so you bolt up, and you see that he remains in place. just still as you go. He doesn't quite watch you. But you can tell with just your passive insight that he is thinking, that there's something on his mind. But you leave him behind as you go up and over and begin to bound and leap and jump and frolic, still buzzed on coffee.
I mean, yeah. But I want to be stealthy about it. I don't want to be like, everyone to be like, oh shit, the cat's on the roof. But,
Cat's on the roof, making noise.
I know these roofs.
Yeah.
And I'd like to drop in on Crosp as close as I can get to him without him noticing. Which is pretty close.
As possible. Close as possible. All right, so let's see. Pulling in with the other half of the party. Vanya, can you place your token somewhere on this map?
I haven't the first clue where.
I think this is the food cart here. And this is where everyone settled down to eat.
You got visibility up.
Yeah, I just haven't the first idea of where I should be placing her.
Oh, so
Throw a dart.
I think that this is the food cart right here. Yeah.
Yeah, we were at a food cart. Oh, is that the food cart?
Sure, why not?
Looks like a food cart to me.
Time and space are both weird soups. Is the ambient noise too much?
Just a touch. It completely threw me off.
All right, hold on.
It tied into when I placed Vanya's token, so I was like, oh my god, did that trigger when I placed the token down? What does it mean?
Sounds like boss music to me.
Our boss is the Carnival crowd.
It's the guy who announced everything. Now we have to make a new origin story or die.
Yeah, let me just delete these sounds. Why are there a million of them?
I honestly don't hear the sounds. I hear.
We're not on the map yet. That's why.
I see.
The sounds are cool, just loud.
Yeah, I don't know why they're so loud, but I'm turning off most of them, and I'll turn off more of them as we move forward. So, Verdi, you can place yourself near Vanya.
I did.
You did? You did. Okay. Where the hell's Cross?
Can the night noises be turned down a touch?
I thought I did turn them down. Hold on.
It's been so tiny.
About to say, Reg, I was gone like 2 minutes. What did you do to yourself?
He drank the potion of small.
Gnomes sneaking magical potions into the food cart.
It's all part of the fun.
Lacing the Euphoria cookies.
Oh, those come laced. You don't have to lace those.
About to say.
Lacing them with other things.
Drugs.
I mean, I think there's drugs already in them.
Again, and I must insist. Oh, there's like super loud ambient noises that cover huge distances. That's crazy.
Be right
Oh,
back.
man.
The irony was I was implying that they laced the cocaine with LSD.
Just to cut it.
What, to take the edge off?
Yeah.
All right. Bones, you can go ahead and roll a stealth check.
Sure.
You got advantage. You're on the high road.
Back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
$25.
Versus even a wizard's passive perception, that's ridiculous. So you descend from one of the shorter rooftops, land with a nary a sound, and tiptoe and move between carts and stalls to get the jump on Reginald. His still kind of like buckled knees. He'd finished that cookie, but he's still kind of like sucking on his fingers and wishing there were more. I believe Verdi and Vanya were in the same boat, succumbing to the euphoria. So you catch them kind of unawares. Biff has moved off into the distance and has not yet returned.
Yeah, I'll just kind of like walk right up to Reg and just tuck myself into his side.
Oh, I thought you were going.
Oh, no, just for a minute.
Oh, well, welcome back. This stuff's really good, but if we don't move, we're going to be stuck here for the rest of the night.
All right. Let me grab another bottle of Tej.
All right. You head back to the food cart. You pick up another bottle of Tej. He charges you a silver piece for it.
I give him to you.
2 silver pieces. Oh, well. Appreciate the patronage.
It is a pity they only make these cookies only once a year.
I think it's a good thing that they only make these cookies once a year, judging by y'all's looks.
Vanya pouts.
It would be special if they made it all the time.
Would
I think
certainly be a more entertaining way to spend my nights than some of the nights I've had.
I think the term is manufactured something scarcity. Yeah, that's the one. It's kind of like Yule. If we were celebrating Yule every other week, it would kind of lose its specialness, right?
More or less.
More or less.
You are all no fun.
Well, we're fun. We just want to spread out throughout the year.
That would require more cookies.
Well, I mean, you're an herbalist. That's like 2 blocks away from being a baker.
I open my mouth to argue with him, pause, close my mouth, and cock my head thoughtfully.
You're gonna reverse engineer these, aren't you?
I think I can make something similar, but I've never had the same reaction.
Oh, and Bonjay might be able to help.
Speaking of, where is Mbanje?
Bonjay's still with the Carnival.
He's just still holding the line.
Yeah, the kids,
Right.
the kids convinced him to stick around when he was trying to leave. They're like,
There's
"You're
a-
so tall." He's like, "Okay, I guess I can't leave now."
And Bonjay's been doing rocket ships for like 2 hours.
Hell yeah. So, as you guys take what's the word? Take inventory of the situation. You look at the fairgrounds. A number of the carts have been put together. A number of them have not been. You see a pool, a wide wooden pool, is being filled with water via pump and bucket. And beside it, there are a number of jars filled with different sized fish. A placard has been put out stating essentially that, come back tomorrow for more games. Similar things are happening. There are wooden targets, people-shaped targets being erected over in one corner of the fairgrounds, and a number of axes in crates are scattered about throughout this throwing range, essentially. There's large bales of hay being brought out and set down. There's a very similar one with small darts that are being laid out and targets affixed to a wooden fence.
Well, that looks interesting.
And it looks very apparent by just the appearance and the momentum and the hustle that these folks plan on working throughout the evening to get everything running by morning.
Oh, it sounded like you hurt yourself.
No, I opened and closed the thing.
Okay. Bones is going to tug at Reg's hand. Come on, I want to show you something, and the fair will be here tomorrow.
Yeah, sure. I should probably be packing it in soon. It's got to be past 10 at this point.
A little after.
So he kind of waves at Vanya and Verdi and Leah and the small one in armor. Well, I'll catch you guys later. Probably not going to be back, but maybe back tomorrow. We'll see if I can get some time off. And he falls after you, Bones.
I thought he was self-employed.
Was Bones' exact thought. She just didn't say it out loud. Yeah. Bones is gonna be like, alright, we aren't gonna see it down here, and she'll, with probably a lot of help and a lot of convincing, get him on a rooftop.
Oh.
Probably
okay.
like one of her favorite rooftops too, like with like a good view of the harbor and Gnometown.
Yeah. So you pull Reginald away from the party, down into the further deeper into the city, and you try to find your rooftop and figure out how to get Spindly Wizard up onto roof. So we're gonna pull away from there, away from the partying party, and move westward for a moment to check in on Biff.
Indeed.
Biff, you have moved maybe like 10 minutes away from the party, kind of jogging, kind of walking, following a general movement of crowd and small folk toward not the fairgrounds, but outside of Gnometown. Let's see here. Where's Nyanzaru? Where did I put Nyanzaru? One sec. Activate. There we go. Alright, let me find a little Biff token. There we are.
Apparently we're gonna have a real good view of Aramag too.
Hell yeah. You follow the stream of small folk out of the narrow streets and twisting, winding roads toward an open space, a wider road that overlooks the sea. A wall, maybe 6 feet tall, extends from the edge of the road and along the road, separating the city from 20 to 30 feet of sandy shore, which abruptly cuts down to rocky slopes below. Not quite bluffs, but almost as steep and almost as tall. The first thing that kind of catches your attention is that on the bluffs, on this rocky, craggy side of the city's sloping walls, you see the massive pointed spires of Aramag's shell, currently shimmering with steam. As you approach, the creature's massive, broad face slowly lifts up, easily the size of a building, as his beady little eyes, unblinking, look out across the wall and toward the roads, toward the many, many people who have gathered. He puffs out a big, great bellow of white steam and lets out a deep, bellowing roar of satisfaction.
Ahoy there, Anurag!
Indeed, this is satisfactory, a grand and glorious party in my honor. A voice. Yes, our champion.
You see his head lift up and his kind of long neck, way thinner than his head, is extended far above his shell, somewhat terrifyingly, as you realize just how much reach this creature has with its pointed, jagged maw. Its beak-like maw leans over the side of the wall. And even from a distance, you can feel heat radiating from this creature. There are people shouting, whooping, hollering as the Grand Turtle has made its entrance.
Just gonna join in because it's fun, whatever. Let's feed into all of this. But he's gonna try to find himself a spot so he's a little higher than the others, and well seen.
You find a place, probably like on one of the buildings, one of the smaller shacks nearby the road, and hoot and holler and whoop, and Aramag, sort of built up and egged on, tilts his head back and releases just this billowing gouts of steam, thick to the point that you can't see through it. As the vapor rises into the air, it begins to quickly settle down upon the ground below, creating this billowing, roiling fog that is uncomfortably warm, but not scaldingly hot. As this smog, this smoky fog, kind of twists and weaves between buildings and completely blankets the small folk who kind of, between laughter, begin to cough and kind of wave their hands. Aramag chuckles, low, ground rumbling laugh.
Biff cups his hands to call out, "How do you fared since the battle? You look as young as ever, Anurag."
We feel robust and powerful.
It's good to hear that Biff feels the same way. Of course, thanks to Anurag's blessing.
Yes, truly my gifts are the greatest of blessings.
With that, he locks his eyes on you and kind of squints and bows his head slowly.
And with our gift, what have you done to spread the glory of Aramag, my champion?
Biff tells Aramag of going across the desert and meeting with the Fiend Keeper, bringing back some life to the desert, taking over a city, and spreading a few seeds here and there, letting them know that he's Aramag's champion. And he embellishes a little bit, saying like none of this. He said he embellishes in saying that he told the townspeople that none of this would have been impossible without Aramag looking over his shoulder, that kind of thing.
You embellish. All right, so roll me a quick deception check.
An 8. Why?
Oh no. Okay. There's silence. There's silence as the Grand Turtle watches you, unblinking, and you see his brows come to slowly squint.
A grand adventure, to be sure, yes. But it needs more glory! Yes, champion! You will show the revelers and the partiers and the small folk. You will show them firsthand the glory of Haramad. Yes! When the dawn comes, when the sun is high, provide for me. Provide for me a display of prowess! Glorious combat! Yes!
And as he goes on, halflings, gnomes, humans, all gathered in the smoke and the roiling fog, begin to holler and whoop and cry out. Apparently driven and revved up by the idea that has been placed upon your shoulders.
Biff laughs nervously. He kind of scratches his cheek. Oh, do you truly think that this great idea, with power Adamag is given Biff, Biff would crush these people? Do not want that for a party.
Roll a persuasion check.
16. No,
16.
Question. What's that second one on a... that's advantage, I think. Okay, never mind.
All right. The Grand Turtle looks toward you, and with a great deep rumble, you hear the water break, waves crash, and beside his face you see lifting is a tremendous webbed, clawed flipper. He plants his forearm onto the wall, crumbling it, and begins to lift his massive shelled form up onto the side of the island roofs. All the while, his head extends forward, looms over the road, until he's beak to nose with you, more or less, and snorts.
How may be the help, Adamag? As he, like... He looks nervous only in the fact that he knows Aramag could, eat him if he really wanted to. But he's brave enough to just stand there and stand in front of Aramag, because he wouldn't do that to his champion, would he?
Champion, you may be right. Find an appropriate adversary. Find a challenger worthy of your prowess. Tomorrow, there will be glorious battle. Yes!
As he slowly retracts from the wall and plants himself against the side of the bluffs of the coast, watching and securing himself right there, maybe half a block away from Little Hands.
Biff sighs. Okay. And then he looks around, takes a deep breath, like, all right, she gotta do this. You heard out of my folks. The great dragon turtle has demanded.
Adversary?
Combat! Thank you. Which of the greatest of you would dare challenge Aramag's champion?
As
There's
everybody leaves.
There's a bit of chatter, and people do kind of shy away from the street, making themselves scarce. You hear one person shout out,
"Dude, you're like 7 feet tall. I ain't touching that."
Biff laughs. It's okay. Perhaps it is not you in the crowd. Perhaps you know someone who speaks great of their adventures and their power. Bring them to Biff. Take Biff to them. There will be combat. There will be joy. There will be festival.
at that,
There will be
people
blood.
begin to
That will be blood.
people begin to cheer and shout and cry out about, the imminent massacre, the beatdown, getting black and blue in Gnome Town. There's a lot of fuss and a lot of noise as you take this tense moment and transform it into a frenzy of revelry. Those people who were kind of shying away from the crowd begin looking at each other. You hear lots of conversation, people arguing back and forth as suggestions are made, and people begin to fan out and spread out as they begin to search for your adversary.
Oh no.
This is going to suck.
I can think of like 2 really good people.
Monte.
It's Monty or Alina, really.
No, I'm thinking of Monty, but I don't think Biff has met him. No, Biff has met him.
Biff
Biff
met
doesn't
him.
know where he is. So now it's up to the gnomes to find him.
All right. So, Biff, as you are left with a job from your employer, the boss giving you a task, welcome to being a champion. There are strings attached. We're going to pull away from Biff, and as the night grows long, it is quickly approaching midnight. Bones, you do eventually get Reginald up onto one of the buildings, and it's awkward at first, but eventually he gets seated down, oversees the town, the many glowing lights, the braziers lit. Did you bring him up to talk, or just to show
Talk.
this?
Probably talk a little bit about how she's gonna be tomorrow. This is her last night as Inquisitor Darkmoon.
Oh. Yeah, that's pretty rough.
And she'll crack a bottle of Tej and offer it to him to share.
Yeah. He'll share Tej with you.
And tomorrow I'll be Chairwoman DeFerrin.
That sounds like a bit of an upgrade.
A bit.
I mean, it doesn't have the sharp twang of Inquisitor, but...
Or access to the archives.
Or access to the archives. Is there anything that you need there? I mean, I currently work for the Commission.
Nothing right now.
All right, well, Chairwoman, I'm sure if you have a formal requisition, I might be able to pull some strings.
Appreciate it.
Happy to help.
Oh, and I thought I'd read Otamu into our research into a Sararak. What do you think?
Otamu, well, I mean, he knows a shitload of things about this island. I bet even more than he lets on. He's big on myths and, legends. He's also pretty good at keeping secrets. I imagine it's probably a good fit, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, clinks the bottle, takes another swig. So, something I've been meaning to ask: how do you get down when you get up on buildings like this? Because I don't see anything.
Well, you see that barrel down there? You jump to that barrel, and then you hop down. You got some height, so you should be fine.
That's like 30 feet away.
I'll find you a good place to stop, or to get down.
All right, well, maybe find me a closer barrel then.
Yeah. And after we have a nice conversation, she'll probably kind of like guide him to like just from rooftop to rooftop, like little hops, and down to a short gnome building.
All right, gonna roll some acrobatics checks for Reginald.
Bones is keeping a close eye on him and offering him hands because she knows that he's a little drunk
You're
and
helping.
Very tired.
All right, so that was a 19, so I'm pretty sure you did pretty well. He stumbles. Thankfully, you're helping. He stumbles here and there, but you do manage to get him to clumsily make his way from rooftop to rooftop, keeping up with you.
All right, let's get you home. You haven't slept in like 36 hours.
Like 36 hours. Yeah, definitely.
And we have to climb all those stairs.
That is way too many stairs.
Have you considered like a block and tackle situation and then like a lift? You could run it on Aetherstone, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, certainly. I mean, these things take time. But, yeah, it's definitely an option. So as you consider modes of conveyance and you bring him back toward the lab, those of you who are still partying in Gnome Town, still playing the games, it grows late, and you've all been up very early. I would assume, unless any of you are crazy, that you guys begin to make your way toward your places of rest.
Well, yeah, I guess Biff has to tell people like where to find him. Also, he does know about what's his name, so he's gonna look around for the guy.
Monty?
Monty.
All right, roll me an investigation check as you're trying to search out Leonard Monty. It's getting very, very late. You only have a little bit of time to try to find him. .13 investigation. You know that he is boarded up at the Commission Guild Hall. There are some sleeping arrangements there, and he does sleep at the hall. Sometimes bounces back and forth between the various inns. But you are aware that he is at the guild hall and has turned in for the evening. Do you leave him like a letter of challenge?
It's less challenge and more... You know what? Yeah, let's go challenge.
Okay. So you draft up a letter of formal challenge to spar against him. Do you designate any specific rules?
You know, this isn't to the death. Fight as hard as you can. No low blows.
No low blows. All right.
So duel of honorable combat.
Yeah.
Duel of honorable combat. All right, so you leave that on his door, and you make your way to... Where is Biff going to sleep tonight? That's a good question.
The Black Cat? How's that for a good place?
That's currently being occupied by the gunslingers. So there is a spot in the guild hall that you could rest your head. Basically just a cot in a bunk.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
All right, cool beans. So you head out, you rest your head for the evening. Bones, you get to Crosp's lab without issue. By the time you guys get up to the living quarters, both of your legs and his legs are on fire because stairs. Coffee has begun to run out, and it is midnight.
Yeah, we're going to bed.
You guys
We're
fucking
old
conk
now.
out. You're old now. You got a new job now. He's got a what's the same job? He's got a new title now. You're old.
Bones is like 24.
Okay.
She's like, I'm a grown up now. I need to go to bed.
Oh no. The growing pains. Let's see.
Vanya is accustomed to late nights, but not so much the kind of day that preceded this late night. So, yeah, she'd be yawning and starting to fade a little bit as she asks Verdi if they want to head back and maybe come visit the festivities again the following night.
Verdi is fine with that. Verdi is not necessarily a late night type of person, so they are very much exhausted, especially with the last few weeks or days that he has had, so they're perfectly fine heading back.
And it is a long way back.
Yeah, it's a bit of a walk. It's at least an hour's walk.
It's a bit of a drive to get there. All right, so Vanya, you lead Verdi back to Cherokee Anchorage, and it is a fucking hike. It's like 1 a.m. by the time you guys get to the apartment, the little cottage home apartment. Verdi, you've been.
Go ahead.
Verdi, you've been here before. You find your way to the couch, and as you get ready to rest your head, you discover Vanya has a cat. There's a black cat just kind of sitting on one of the coffee tables, half watching, half glaring at you as you take a seat, just watching. They've got a thick banded red collar with a brass bell at the front, the bell of which is covered with just these really ornate imprints and carvings all across the surface. As Natasha makes their way in, they notice the cat and immediately begin like puffing and huffing and sniffing at it. At which point the black cat kind of like lifts a paw and looks ready to slap.
I kind of forgot to ask, how has Petal been this entire time?
Petal has been bouncing, just kind of like kneading and clawing at your shoulder with all the lights and all the colors and all the everything. They don't seem to get tired.
Makes sense. I definitely put them on Jack.
Oh yeah.
So once we get in and Verdi is blinking and Natasha and Stratus are having a standoff. Stratus, I've brought some friends for you. And I bring in Jack and Fred and have them kind of like move into a corner of the room.
Stratus, his eyes go wide. And there's this very like human, one brow cocked look that the cat gives you. They don't say a word.
Does he break his gaze away from Natasha?
Yes. Looks away from Natasha. Lowers the slappy paw as well. And without speaking, breaks away from the table, hops down, and approaches the two skeletons. Brushes up against the side of one, weaves between the legs of the other, and then begins to hop up and perch on the shoulder of Jack.
You have another cat.
It was a very complex arrangement.
I think that is usually how it goes with cats.
I was forced to choose one or the other, so of course I took both.
He kind of nods. Him thinking Well, Petal's, like, magical, definitely. But just, like, yeah, Vanya came across a couple of strays and couldn't help herself.
Which reminds me. Petal, I think I will be taking Stratos out tomorrow. I have some questions to ask regarding Frederick and, Jackson.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Oh, you'll be fine. I'll go over to Petal and scoop her up and start petting and scratching her.
She's just pouty and extremely floppy. Does not move, just looks completely defeated, and eventually begins to purr.
You will be fine. And I'll carry her into my bedroom to change, just stroking and scratching her.
You move into the back room, you change. Petal is consolated slightly from the petting and the attention. You can see very clearly that they are concerned, maybe a little bit hurt, definitely upset, but you're the boss, and they abide. Verdi, as you sit on the couch and kind of watch, you see that Stratus, the black cat, is paying a great deal of attention to the skeleton, has curled up in the crook of Fred's shoulder, and has begun to squint slightly, slowly, seeming to doze off. You two prepare to rest and pull away from Vanya and Verdi and check back in the clinic where Jean, the paladin cleric, the follower of Selene, has come to tag out with Lena.
Yeah. Elena will just kind of give her a nod. I think that whatever was harming her is gone. Keep an eye out for her, though.
She inclines her head and nods. Well, I'll continue watching, and hopefully nothing bad goes down. She somewhat awkwardly pops a squat, watches, not sure what to think about the spontaneous recovery. You get the inkling that she has some idea, but has more questions than answers.
Yeah. Salin, come on, let's go home.
Okay. Salin, somewhat exhausts herself, nods, and inclines her head. Right, yes, the clinic should be able to run itself all about. I think we deserve some rest. She kind of leans on you as you lead the way.
Yep. We'll just kind of ignore the party and head to my apartment.
All right. You lead her off that way. Both of you exhausted for different reasons. It's not long before you find your way to the bed and conk out.
Yep.
Heldy, you're one to overstay their welcome when it comes to parties. The gnomes don't sleep, but it's become evident that a lot of the crowd has thinned, and your hostage, Gerald Hopkins, is starting to fade. The attractions that you guys have been playing have grown a little stale. The fair food, though nice, you can only eat so much grease before you start to feel sick, and you're about ready to hit that point.
Hey, so, your place or mine?
Well,
Yeah, Nick.
I was planning on going back home to my place to, stumble onto my bed and fall asleep.
far do you live?
Oh, well, I'm actually staying here in Gnometown. The rent is exceedingly cheap. The door frames are kind of problematic, but I do like how cheap it is.
Would you like company?
Oh, oh,
I mean, it could be completely fair. This is like our second date.
all right. Flummoxed, tugging at his collar and red-faced, he awkwardly, half stumbling, uh, leads away from the festivities toward a cozy little tower made out of multiple houses that are kind of ramshackle stacked together, crookedy and twisty and turny. This is gnomish architecture. It looks like it's about to fall down, but it's not. And eventually leads you to the top floor. He is correct. The door frames are a little too short, but the ceiling is high enough, and there appears to be a tall window on the ceiling that lets the starlight in. He shows you around. You get comfortable and manage to land your catch, awkward as he may be. Who else? Who else? Incognitus, I'm assuming, heads to one of the ends and rests her head. Leah, you do know that Adanu is still trancing at Crosp's office, and there are still people there. And you are welcome to rest there unless you choose to rest somewhere else.
We'll probably head back to Adano since I was fetching him a doggy bag.
Doggy bag. What do you bring Adanu?
I tried to get a couple variations on everything he asked for. Like, I will definitely ask if the Euphoria cookies are safe for elderly wizards, because there's a decent chance that I saw someone eating one.
Oh yeah, you ask the food cart cook whether the cookies are safe for the elderly. Good for all ages between 8 and 80, blind, crippled, or crazy. All ages can enjoy the Euphoria. Even pregnant and elderly.
I was gonna. Well, 80's a little low for the age I'm thinking of, but.
No, we're talking in terms of humans. If you're talking about gnomes, probably somewhere to the tune of 500 or 600. I mean, you are at no risk of eating a Euphoria. It's not like cocaine.
Well, I'll probably grab one. Anyway, worst case scenario, we break it up into pieces and little bits.
All right, so you take your bag of collected sweets, treats, and fried things and make your way back to Crosp's office. There you do see that Desmond Fleming he's there. He has brought a large, comfortable chair, a number of cots. As the Fey folk have not yet found a place to rest their heads, and he is still babysitting them, it appears that he's made a small camp for himself to rest and for the Fey creatures that are from Amberbreeze to rest. He inclines his head in your direction as you enter. Your friend is still in the other room. Be sure to lock the door for the last one in.
Know if I'm going to be the last one in?
Hard to say. But you do trance. When you trance, you're aware, so.
Okay.
Well, to the elf thing where you keep sentries watch, I don't care. I need to rest. You see the rabbit folk are kind of snoring, curled up in their cots. Old Hornwall is perched up on the staircase, sleeping upright.
Do I have an estimate on about how long Adano's trance is going to last?
Let's see, probably like another hour or two. You've been partying for a bit.
I'll probably stay up and wait for him to be done trancing, and then we can go through the goodies.
Okay. Roar, you're also still here, as I recall. Gallium has left. He's not come back yet. Roar, if you're here, can you give me a wisdom saving throw?
Wisdom saving throw.
Yeah.
Okay, that not roll? No, it didn't. Okay, fine.
I think some of the character sheets make it easier to roll wisdom saving throws than others.
Yeah, I'm just gonna manually do it at this point.
Go for it.
I think the thing was to click on the little gear next to it, not it.
Alright, so when I click wisdom, it gives me the option to do an ability check or a saving throw. Is it not letting players do it?
14.
14. Okay. Your evening continues. You see Leah enters into the building, has a big bag of things. You detect that it is foodstuffs. You hear the conversation with her and Fleming, and you see Fleming is getting ready to turn in. What are you doing with your evening?
I'm poring over my notes, deciding on a new design and a new name for my companion that I have to rebuild again, since it's never the same thing twice.
Checks out.
I'm poring over the possibility of making something less frightening and more illegal.
Okay. So you spend your evening just going over your notes, doing some sketches, working on some concepts. You don't have to rest. You haven't used any of your spell slots, so really you don't have to rest until you need to rest.
Have we had a full? Oh yeah, we did have a full long rest. Between yeah.
Yeah, so you're good. So you work through the evening. Leah, after an hour and a half, Danu begins to stir from his trance. He notices you first as you've been kind of waiting. Oh, such visions in my revelry. Aye. Oh, welcome back, child. Oh, you have brought things. He makes kind of like gimme grabby hands at you, elegantly and delicately. He's still blindfolded, so he's kind of just blindly reaching out.
So, like, just aimless gimme hands.
Aimless gimme hands.
I will hand over the bag, and I will make mention of some of the various goodies I procured.
So he's, you spend like the next half hour being like, well, this is honey candy, this is butter candy, this is an oversized lollipop that I think has crushed fairies in it. We're not sure. And he goes through them one by one, and with all the gusto of a man who hasn't eaten in 2,000 years, appears to be elated. Eventually he gets to the cookie. Oh, what is this? It feels like a firm cake. A wafer, but big.
It is called a Euphoria cookie.
I have never heard of such a thing.
Apparently, it's a yearly special around here.
A tradition. Oh, delightful. Would you care to share it?
Sure.
He awkwardly breaks it, ends up handing you the smaller half. And he proceeds to bite into this soft, cakey, chocolatey cookie. Ooh, what is this? Oh my goodness. It is decadent. And, does not make his wisdom save. And goes very silent as he finishes off the rest of it.
GG.
He watches Adanhu succumbs to the allure of the euphoria.
And that might be why they only make it once a year.
Oh. This is a treat.
I will promptly break my half in half and give him another quarter.
He takes the half of the half. Oh, thank you, child. Thank you so very much.
Let me guess. I roll my wisdom save now.
Oh yeah, if you're eating it, make a wisdom save.
Yeah, I'm gonna go after. I'm gonna have like the last quarter, regardless.
It's not a magical effect, so elven bullshit doesn't apply. Yeah, no. You touch this thing to your mouth, and you are, as a physician, acutely aware of the biological processes that happen. Like adrenaline, oxytocin, all those good brain chemicals.
Can't stop it from happening.
And so, as you eat it, you don't detect a drug. It's just really, really well made. It's flaky and buttery, but chocolatey and sweet, but not too sweet, and kind of salty, but not too salty, and the powder on top, and the powder on top, and there's something about the powder on top. Roll me an Arcana check.
It's cocaine.
There's something about the powder on top.
I was gonna say I rolled a 19 on die.
That's not. You identify that it's not. It's not. It's not like chemical, but it's not like magical. You're pretty sure that alchemy is involved somehow in whatever this dusty powder is. And it might be just a little bit, not quite like a depressant or, a hallucinogen or a psychotropic, but there is a measure of, just by looking at Adano, there's a very clear loss of inhibition, brief as it may be, upon eating it. Oh, Dr. Roxo. Good old Dr. Roxo. You are also fairly certain that you have earned the opposite of enmity with Adanhu, who is pleased, just pleased and content, still sitting cross-legged, and
punch.
Yeah, pleased as punch as you while away the hours and eventually slip into your own trance.
I'm making a senior buddy.
You're making a senior buddy. They're old and full of wisdom.
And now drugs.
And now drugs. Huh. Let's see. Where's my playlist?
Part of me wants to ask, what the DC for figuring it out was, because...
To figuring out that it's alchemical?
Well, no, what the powder was.
To figure out what the powder is, I mean, you can identify it, or... Well, you've eaten it. So you can't identify it. But you do identify that it is some kind of magical powder. Some kind of alchemical powder.
The trade secret is what it is.
It's a trade secret, but once a year. So, as the party beds down and prepares to sleep for the evening, one by one slipping into dreams. Alina.
Yes.
Your dreams are particularly vivid. Once more, you find this sensation of wakefulness despite being completely asleep. A certain realness, tangibleness, solidarity to the fabric of your dream. You find yourself standing in a grand hall of stone, worked stone and brick. Heat washes over you. A pervasive mist rolls across the ground, twisting and twirling along the floor, seeping into every corner, filling the room with just this blanket of vapor. Along this hall, the walls are spotted with these alcoves, these wide open archways that stretch outward into open areas where you see anvils, forges, and all manner of smithing materials. You hear the tink, tink of hammers against anvils, the whoosh of flames, the squelching of quenched hot steel. And you realize that this ever-present smoke and fog, in pockets of these alcoves, they've swirled and taken form into these broad, vaguely humanoid forms, blocky forms with thick appendages, faces that are just barely visible that resemble broad-nosed, bearded folk. The features are there and then gone. Every movement causes the fog to shift and twist and the forms to dissipate and reform. As though pulled, you're drawn forward through this hall, your feet moving on their own accord, passing one alcove and another, hammers striking, flames bursting and bellowing in the distance. At the end of this hall, you see what appears to be a great anvil placed before a tremendously large furnace. The banging of hammers beat like drums at your back. You hear murmuring, chanting, and a song, both of artisans and warriors, murmuring into existence behind you. The droning hum of battlesmiths pounding their art into existence. And very abruptly, the hymn is cut. The beats stop. The music comes to an end. And you hear from your left a sharp ahem.
Yeah, I'll turn.
Your eyes turn and you spot a glimmer of light. An illumination, both silvery and golden at the same time. You first see a lantern in this narrower, darkened alcove. This lantern is held by, well, it's a glimmering, pretty thing, glowing, made of silver and platinum, all twisted and twined together. The hand that holds it is darkened by soot and dirt. A gloved, soot and dirt-covered hand, worn by a hunched figure. Robed, hunched, squat, this clear-as-day dwarven man watches you. His face is withered with age. His broad nose is prominent on his face with dark spots all over it. Deep, embedded dirt in the pores. His beard is white and clean, but his blue robes are, though well-appointed, are very, very dirty along the sleeves and the hem. He gestures toward you.
Yes. Come on this way.
He glances away from you and toward the ghostly smiths in the distance.
Oh, she's with me. This one's with me. Come, child. A moment of your time, if you please.
Of course.
He turns and leads you down a dark and narrow hallway set in posts, far away from the heat and the hammering. You walk for several moments in the dark as you're led to a sturdy oak door, and through it into a room furnished with elegant stonework and equally impressive wood-carved furniture. Bookshelves stretch out into the distance. Desks are interspaced that seem to reach on into the distance, all stocked with tomes and scrolls and globes and devices that you don't recognize. The dwarven gentleman takes a seat behind a large, broad mahogany desk. It looks to be a size too big for him. He sits there, places down the mantle, and the one source of light seems to illuminate the whole room.
Follower of the Matron of Ravens. She's an old friend of the Forge Lord. Fortuitous. Half ASMR too. Unlikely is this by chance. Wanted to congratulate you. You done good. And the Morden Summon take note of good deeds like this. And I'm glad I caught you when I did. Please, have yourself a sit. I'd like a moment to speak candidly.
Of course. And Alina will sit as instructed. She's got like the, you know when you go to your parents' friend's house? That is the energy.
Okay, she knows what the fuck's going on. He places his elbows on the table, hunched back as he watches you. One moment.
You can call me Doug Marin. Doug Marin Brightmantle. Part of the Morden Summon. We're a collective of those who work for Morden. People who are either powerful smiths, warlords, wizards, archivists, or even just outstanding folk who exemplified Morden's teachings and what he stood for. Not quite gods, you might say, but intermediaries between Morden and the world, while the boss man is off doing what he's doing.
Of course, I met one of your followers earlier today. Yesterday.
He nods and inclines his head.
I have met my boy, Gallion. He's he does his best.
He's exuberant.
He is exuberant, and perhaps a little bit eager to do what he does best with the hammering and the striking. I wanted to thank you for being there to be there. He had been chasing that thing for a little ways and was planning on doing something downright stupid by himself. You and your party seemed to be there at just the right time to lend just the right aid. I don't think you would have made it out of there alive if not for your intervention and collaboration. So to that end, you have got my thanks.
I appreciate it. I'm happy to help.
I was hoping that you'd say that.
And you see a grin slowly spread across his face.
As for that candid conversation, how much do you know about the omniscience of holy folk, deities, demi-deities, the gods themselves, what they can and can't see, what they can and can't hear?
Not a great deal. They turn their attention where it is needed most at any particular moment. It might be you, it might not be.
He inclines his head.
I see you're more proficient with a sword than a book. Not a bad trait to have. The long and short of it, then. There are some places that the gods can't see, whether by magical means, veils, for instance, or more nefarious means, desecration and the like. And then the more mundane means, simply not having influence in certain places, not having followers. Imagine my surprise to learn that this tremendously large landmass existed for God knows how long. I'm afraid, despite all of my collected information and knowledge, I know very little about this place you call home, this place you call Tikal. I pride myself upon knowing things, and the fact that this has gone beneath my notice is a little suspect.
It is, but Tikal does not worship the pantheon of the dragons. So it's possible. I know that it also was shrouded from the Feywild until pretty recently. It could be part of that.
He
I'm
leans back and he taps his chin.
I'm happy to tell you anything you might want to know about the island. I will gush at length about the island. But if you want information on the hows and whys, I might not be your girl.
There's certain rules to these things. Fortunately for yourself, you've got that special kind of blood that makes it a little bit easier. I may come back and ask you more information, perhaps give you a checklist, but I'm not going to go there just yet. Typically speaking, a single champion should be enough to grant my eyes proper view of the surrounding area. But it is almost as though a dense fog was settled into this land. Something strange. I'd like to ask you, formally, I'd like to beseech you. Would you, please, make contact with your matron, her pantheon? Bring to them my name, so we may ally in jolly cooperation, as Moradin once did with Her Majesty.
I will be happy to do what I can.
I'm glad to hear that. To that end, I do believe that my champion will be remaining here on the island to be my eyes and ears. Look around, see what he can find, provide what information he can back to me. I would like to be in touch with you in the interim, now and again. It's nice to have Galleon to look around and throw his weight around and collect his notes as he does, but speaking frankly, he is not an ASMR.
An ally of my matron's is an ally of mine.
I'm glad to hear that.
And you see a grin spread across his face again.
Oh, well, I do believe I'm running out of time. Got to go recharge their reserves. But in the future, I may call upon you again. Be sure to look out for signs, missives, omens. Once upon a time, your kind, when they first arrived, brought manifest by the divine dragon's will, it was not irregular for them to work with multiple different deities at once, to collect information, to share messages, to be their envoys. I believe some others have taken notice of you and may perhaps want to act through you.
I do not close myself off to such things.
Hey, that's good to hear then. Well, we'll be in touch.
Sunlight's coming up. And he reaches across the desk, his grimy, kind of soot-covered hand extended out to you.
Oh yeah, shake his hand. Firm, nice handshake. Alina knows how to shake hands.
He gives you a squeeze.
It's been a pleasure meeting you. I'll look forward to our next visit.
Of course.
Do make sure my champion doesn't get himself run through, aye?
I'll keep an eye on him.
Appreciate it. Take care, Miss Moria.
You as well.
With that, he releases your hand, reaches over to the lantern, snuffs out the light. You feel your body is no longer sitting, but is laying quietly in bed in the cool of the morning. You hear the quiet noise of Misha making little yips. You hear the sound of Salin. She doesn't quite snore, but she does breathe audibly as you are back in your apartment sleeping. Well, awake, but resting in bed.
I'll probably go. I probably have like a little desk in my room that barely gets used, and I'll note down what I remember of my dream.
All right. So, you take that information, you begin to put it on paper so you don't forget. You move carefully as not to awaken Salin. Misha's kind of like kicking and yipping. You see that he's dreaming about something. He's getting a little fussy and getting ready to wake up, but isn't quite there yet.
Once I do that, I'll write a note for Salin saying that I had to take Misha out, and I'll take Misha out.
Okay, you take Misha out. The morning, it's foggy. The sun is just barely up. You estimate it's probably like 4 or 5 a.m. A number of the braziers have been snuffed out, not quite all of them, and foot traffic is generally slow. You let the dog out and go for just a brisk walk to get your blood flowing to think things over. I'm gonna pull away from Alina and catch up with Karn. With Karn. Karn, you have spent the evening. Did you go into your Sentry's Rest to regain your spells?
Yeah, I mean, so long as the Koboloi are willing to have me, I'm inclined to stay. Listen to them talk about their society and teach them how to use the spell shard.
Oh yeah, you spend so you spend the evening awake, like listening and sharing and all that.
There'll probably come a time when I advise them that I should rest and ask for permission to rest here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you spend a couple hours running them all through the spell shard and how it's worked, and you learn about their history, their current plight, their current organization, and they're keen on showing you things and showing you items and showing you their collection of things and showing you their disguises and showing you their magic. Some of them have proficiency with magic. It's small, like cantrips. You recognize them as cantrips. There's a firebolt here, a ray of frost there. You eventually bed down and enter your Sentry's Rest and remain silent and still. You get some gawkers watching you. You get poked at a couple times. I assume that you were, lucid enough to wake up and kind of like swat people away if they get too annoying.
If they poke me, I just like grunt to let them know that yes, I'm aware, and my highlights will kind of like brighten and dim and brighten and dim.
You spook them. You spook a couple, and they learn pretty quick not to,
let sleeping Warforged lie.
Yeah, don't poke the bear. As the night comes to an end, you see a number of them don their respective disguises. Gnomes and halflings of different shape, size, color. Some of the young Koboloi make themselves look like very old gnomes. Some of the what appeared to be male Koboloi transform into cute little halfling girls. All of them adopting different personas and different disguises as they get dressed with actual clothes and prepare for their various to-dos while it's still dark out. Eventually, your Sentry's Rest comes to an end, and Carrick has not left your side. He remains sitting nearby on the cot, kind of observing the dust pile that was Rua's form, agreeing to eventually clean it up. As you come out of your sentry's rest and begin to awaken and move and stir, your shadow stirs. And you feel this tension in your back and on your ankles and on your legs, a very faint pulling sensation. As the torches and glittering trinkets nearby cast light, your shadow bends and twists and coalesces into a form. Kind of hovering near you, kind of tethered to you, this semi-solid, short, vaguely humanoid form appears. Give me a moment. You can discern in the shape that this appears to be Rua's form, the Koboloi form that she had revealed to you the day prior. Now, this black translucent color. Her eyes, however, are still illuminated, that fiery red color. Sleepy looking. This shadowy form stretches. Yawns. Looks about. Reaches to scratch herself on her side. Glances at her hand. And you see the dawning realization as she figures out what happened.
Oh no, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck! Oh, I've been dusted!
Carrick lifts up a hand, reaches out to her.
Calm yourself, child. Your friend has taken on your shadow. You won't have to worry about the torches or the sun. Until such a magic can be found to restore you, you will be safe within. Isn't that right, Mr. Khan?
As safe as this one can allow. Good morning, Tharua.
Yeah, what's so good about it? Hi.
Tharua is still on this plane.
She looks back to the pile of dust on the ground, kind of frowns at you.
God damn it, it was hot.
I cock my head to the side.
Tharua was warm.
She kind of squints at you. Carrick shakes his head.
I have told them about our matriarch, and Queen Grabstab is still in the woods. One way or another, she will find a solution for you.
So what, we're going on a road trip?
Something like that, I imagine.
Adventure.
Adventure.
Carrot goes to stand. Rua kind of drifts down onto the ground and sits beside you, translucent and just vaguely present. The only thing that seems real about her are her eyes, and they're kind of just fixated on the pile of dust that was her body. She's not wailing, but she's definitely pouting about it. You can tell she is not happy with the situation, but...
I poke her shoulder.
It's very, very faintly tangible. There's a little bit of give to it.
Huh.
As you inspect your companion, Carrick stands, and he begins moving across the way from you, cane in hand, back hunched.
I do believe that Rua had made a promise to you, Mr. Khan. Return something that she took.
Oh, yes, this one's memory.
As you mention that, Carrick begins flitting through a number of what look to be glass vases, bottles, sculptures made out of just twisted and bent and warped glass. And he pulls a golden, kind of orangey, vaguely star-shaped bauble. The contents inside twist and turn like liquid gold. The very deepest portion, a sort of black liquid that is intermixed into this almost metallic, yellowy fluid. He slowly approaches, and you see Rue's attention is on the bauble. She, with arms folded, looks back to you, Karn.
Yeah, that's the one. Listen, they're not all good. Some of them are pretty intense.
But they are yours. And they were promised to you.
This one simply wishes to know which ones were taken. This one's memories are fragmented.
Though the more reason to take them back. Here, hold out your hand. We have plenty. We will not miss their memory or two.
I'll hold out my hands.
He places this star-shaped glass object in your hand, and your eyes are immediately drawn to it as they touch your palm. As you stare into the glittering, twisting, liquid-like interior, you feel drawn into it. You feel a pull. You see the periphery of your vision kind of expand outward as the object seems to grow to fill your line of vision, your periphery. A flurry of visions and seemingly foreign ideas flood through your mind. You see disjointed scenes of arduous work, iron cells, and the smell of decay and ozone. Long and meandering maze-like halls, just barely dim enough to maneuver through. An ever-present crushing pressure. You recognize that you are underground, buried in this tomb, along with those entities the gods themselves dared not destroy. You remember the gnashing many teeth, the slime-dripping jowls, the screams, both bestial and heart-achingly beautiful. You recall being tempted to reach out and touch a cell, a pleading voice crying, "I don't belong here. Some mistake has been made. Please help me." And you would have fallen for it, if not for those who held the line with you. Your brothers, your sisters, those superior to you who oversaw this prison of the mad and undying, who caught you by the wrist and dragged you to your feet when you faltered, who chewed you out when you made your mistakes, but ensured you lived in order to learn. You remember those below you, who you pulled from the fire when their convictions wavered, who you taught, tersely, how to survive, how to be a warden. You remember snippets of these events, altercations and close calls with those who looked alike to you, though each of them bore a uniqueness to their likeness. You remember snippets of these events, quiet moments when the mad and undying were silent and yielding, where you made plans. A scene manifests a distinct memory and a voice. It won't be much longer now, buddy. The top brass have been talking about our contracts, and it seems like the efforts topside are turning for the better. You see a figure much like yourself, a rank above you as denoted by the umbral celestial steel on their facial array and breastplate. The fin atop their domed skull. You recall they were some kind of commander, but they always treated you as a friend. You find yourself overseeing a grand spiral of cells and enclosures, like some inverted pyramid into the dark. As you look over the edge and toward the bottom of this seemingly endless pyramid, toward that which cannot leave, you're snapped back to the conversation. You put any thought into what you want to do after your time here's up? I'm thinking Mount Celestia is a bit too stuffy for my liking. Elysium, though, that seems more my style. I could settle for the Beastlands, I suppose. But I'll have to get there and see what the others went first, and then decide. How about you? He's cut off as a rumbling and a growl tears your attention away. Something down below snarls and smashes against the cells. You're both instinctively drawn forth, a power from within welling up. You watch as his plates and parts reconfigure, multicolored etheric energy bursting from vents that weren't there ago, as you do the same. This quiet moment is cut as you're pulled back into the present time, the present moment, within the Kobolai's den among friends. But you remember that snip of the world you left behind, the life you had before you died. Your knack, the riot suppression stance, is back online.
I lean back with my head tilted back slightly, my mouth open, and my eyes kind of just shining into the dark as I remembered. Then I blink and I look down. I look down at my hands, curl them into fists, and feel that familiar energy return.
Are you quite all right? You look lost for a moment.
This one was not a guardian. This one was a warden.
Carrick rubs his chin.
You.
Listen.
You are very welcome. We...
He places a hand to his chest.
We are sorry for the inconvenience we have caused. Memories are precious things. Had Rua known she had taken and removed it, I believe she would have come to you a lot sooner.
He kind of glances at the shadowy form of Rua beside you, who is looking askance.
This one understands the position the Koboloi are in. This one will seek to help, as these ones discussed.
We would be indebted to you. You have our things.
He goes and he stands, hand on his cane, and looks off into a direction.
The sun has risen. While in your shadow, Rua will be safe from its deadly rays. You might think of this as a grand punishment, young Rua, young Tangle. But you will see things now that you have not before. The sunrise and the sunset, without having to cowl and hide in the shade.
She kind of huffs a little bit.
Yeah, you always were good at finding the silver linings in these things. Alright, well, I'm gonna make myself scarce.
And with that, Grua dissipates, swirls, and returns to the ground as your shadow.
I'll stand up and give Carrick a formal bow.
He inclines his head.
Until we meet again, Warden and Karn.
Until these ones meet again.
Take good care of her.
I swear.
He nods and a smile creeps across his face. He gestures toward one of the halls in the distance.
Is that his cat? Misha's?
That's Rob's cat.
Through the door and up the stairs. Yeah. You will find your way back to the city streets.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
He watches as you stand and prepare to leave and gets a broom. You leave the Koboloi behind, seeing their many trinkets as you pass, registering that within each of them is a memory as potent, as deep, as tangled, perhaps, as the one you held in your hands. The one that you had held physically has dissipated. It is nowhere to be seen. But the memories are sharp in your mind. They are fresh in your mind. So, I would assume you make your way back to the streets.
Yes. With a head full of new things to think about, I start heading back to the only other sanctuary I'm aware of for myself, which is Cross's former office.
Cross's former office, that's the party place. So, while this was happening to you, Vanya, there's a knock at your door. Biff, there is a knock at your door. Incognitus, there's a knock at your door. So on and so forth. The party is approached by a messenger. One by one, as you guys are taken out of your sleep, perhaps a bit prematurely, by a frizzy, red-haired halfling that you recognize as a member of the commission. You are all informed that a meeting is to take place at Crosp's former office. Now it is an empty gathering building. So this would be the Blackguards would be summoned to this one, as well as Alina.
Alina is a blackguard.
Yes, Alina is a Blackguard. I'm thinking A sides and B sides. So the Blackguards would be summoned to Crosp's office. Vanya, you are aware that there is a meeting. There is seemingly no sense of secrecy or urgency to it, but Verity is definitely requested.
Chances are in the morning, while Vanya is making breakfast and swapping out her familiars, Verity would probably be the most likely one to answer the door, and they would exchange that information and then get prepared.
It wouldn't take long for Verdi to get ready, considering he doesn't really change out of his clothes when he sleeps on the couch. He just really takes his shoes off, which is a very weird habit.
Vanya will also tap her skeleton shoulders to turn them around where they were just staring into the corner at Verdi's request.
Yeah, Verdi wasn't about to wake up in the middle of the night and just have skeletons looming over him.
Speaking of which,
Hell yeah.
I gotta make some rolls for them.
Oh yeah.
Pets, there they are. There we go. They're still good boys today.
Hell yeah. All right, you maintain the control of your skeleton army, small as it may be. Do you accompany Verdi to the meeting?
Yeah, I'm curious.
All right, cool. Let's see. So I've got Bones would have been summoned. Yeah, let's move people over to activate. I don't think I forgot anybody.
Wouldn't Banja be needed?
No, not Banji, but Biff would.
And Roar's already there.
Roar's already there. Roar never left. He doesn't go far. So, Roar and Leah, you two would have been aware as one by one various members of the commission began to file in. There's a brief conversation with Fleming about using the area as a general gathering spot. Fleming decides to take the Fey folk and, with Narixis' blessing, show them around town. That is a whole conversation to have that he's not ready to have. So, as you guys make your way, roughly at the same time, to the Crosssold office, you enter to find that Narixis Torn is there, present before a slightly big group of people. You see, among him is the rough and tumble fighter, Leonard Monty, the everyman, Shago, one of the local clerics, Ernal Edelweissen, and another, Jean Delacroix. There is what appears to be a member of the research or ranging community, as well as a few other hands who appear to have, clipboards, intelligence information on them, and a series of maps. Torrin inclines his head to the group as you all approach.
Good morning. Welcome. Perhaps this is short notice, but as we gather together the supplies for our travel south, I thought it would be prudent to get the planning phase out of the way before dismissing you all to your festivities in Gnometown.
It's a good idea, yes.
Karn is sitting on a crate, kind of off in his own world.
All right.
Bones will steal a chair.
Yeah, Bones steals a chair. You guys all kind of pop a squat. You see Shago is kind of sitting, popping a squat on the stairs. He sees you, Bones, pretty much like immediately, and grins. He still has that kind of like slump to his face, but what teeth remain are really nice teeth. He gives you a little bit of a nod as you enter. Monty has his back up against the stairwell. He sees Biff, cocks a brow, and points at his eyes, and then points those two fingers at Biff with a knowing nod.
Biff gives a firm nod back.
Alina, you recognize Jean is right nearby. She glances at you. Hopefully we can keep this quick. I'll be returning back to the clinic as soon as we have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed.
Yeah, Alina nods, and she'll just hang out over here.
You mosey on close to a familiar face. Narixis pulls out a map and glances at Verdi.
During the time you were researching and going on your bounty hunt to the south to take care of that blight on the earth that is Boscov Driscoll, we have been busy sending out our research teams, our rangers, our census takers, our undead professionals to collect information. I thought it would be prudent to check in with you lot, as you have made the travel south most recently, and would have the most recent information.
Yes, it was not very dangerous this time. The path we took was fairly quiet.
That is good news. Vidar, I would assume you have updated your maps all along your travels.
Rudy will nod and assume that's his way of saying, take your fucking map out, you idiot. And he would, show the map.
If you would be so kind.
He gestures toward you and makes like a beckoning motion with his hand.
Please set your map out here. We will cross-reference what we have presently. Cairn, if you would, please provide the census information and collaborate with Master Vidar upon the most recent information.
The other human halfling ranger pulls out a scroll and unravels it, places it beside your map, Verdi. Takes out a quill, touches it to their tongue, and begins to take notes based on your map. You see the others begin to sort of gather around close to this new map. As Verdi, from your notes, they pull out, the Red Clay Clan domain, the place, the New Haven markers, notes about the Gripply and the Grung. And for several minutes, there's some back and forth between you and this other researcher about what you've seen, what you haven't seen. Torin folds his arms and glances toward you, Bones.
Our preferred method would be to follow the river, follow Soshin Star, and stay close to the bank. There are not enough boats to move on the river itself, but with our flank to the river, that means that we only have to defend one side of the caravan.
Fair enough. Could a flotilla be made?
Not on such short notice. It would be possible, but we would have to postpone travel. And as I understand it, there are still people in New Haven, our people and not, who need aid.
Yes. Fair enough. The River Soshinsar is a good way to go. Port Castigliere will be operational, I have been told, by allies there. However, I doubt how prepared it is to take on a group this large, and we don't have any information about the travel there as well. At least this way, the Red Clay Clan are allies and would be happy to meet with us.
I will take allies that we know over ports that we do not know. Agreed. The choice to follow the river is two-pronged. There are a number of landmarks and points of interests along this river that I think may be viable for our research teams and for you as well to scout, to perhaps collect resources. As I understand it, according to Vidar's notes, there is a verdant broadcaps. This is a medicinal, correct?
Does Verdi know that?
Yeah, that's one in your notes. That's one of the alchemical reagents for making healing potions.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Verdi will definitely explain the little notes of various different stops and points of interest.
I see no reason why a party as skilled and as quick as yours cannot hit two birds with one stone. If such items can be required while the caravan travels, it would be a boon to those to the south, as well as to our resources up north. It is an optional thing. I would not ask you to risk your lives, but when in Otori, do as Otori do.
This is not the Tory.
What's
No, it is not.
This is to call.
Yeah, maybe a couple of 1,000 miles too far south, big guy.
Oh, listen, you are on thin ice.
Yeah, I know.
Alina's just laughing in a corner.
Perhaps you should try visiting this Tory.
You know, I heard there's ice in Otori.
Edelweissen. As far as potential problems, we are just exiting the end of a rainy season. Post-rainy season means predators will be breeding, they will be ornery, they will be active. Our caravan will be moving slowly, as quickly as a caravan can move. To that end, we are looking for any type of protective force we can muster. Any scouts who can look ahead, any trackers who can intercept threats before they become a problem.
He kind of glances at Verdi, glances at Cairn.
Alina's gonna glance to Vanya.
Vanya blinks at Alina.
Diff is looking at Norixus.
To that end, I would expect a party like this to fan out, collect information, scout in return, check in every other day, or every day if possible. Does this sound amenable?
Of course.
Ideally, I would like frontline fighters such as yourself, Aaliyah, and you, Monty, to remain close to the caravan. Monty, you make a lot of noise, but you hit very well. If something does manage to get through the ranges, it would be good to have a line of defense to either scare something off or to cull it. I can scare things off, absolutely. I can hit things pretty hard, too.
We all know
I'm
how well
stealthy.
you scare things off, Monty.
That's a low blow. That's not wrong, but absolutely a low blow.
Alina just grins at him.
Norixus pulls out a clipboard and turns the page.
According to census reports, undead activity suggests the immediate south is a hotbed for new undead activity. We're looking at ghouls and other similar feisty types.
And he points to the map and gestures to the sort of yellowish colored blots and a deeper dark brown blot toward the midsection between Port Nyanzaru and New Haven.
Fortunately, as I understand it, we have a paladin joining us.
I will be.
He inclines his head.
After following the notes about your adventure toward the south, this information about the buried ziggurat and the tales of the abandoned city that was nearby, I cannot help but wonder if the increase in undead activity and the ziggurat itself are related. Following that, the recent activity of devils and demons in the area, it may be worth investigating.
Bones was...
Considering the speed...
Oh, go ahead.
Considering the speed of the caravan, I see no reason why, with the ability to communicate with the pens, this would not be an option.
Bones will raise her hand.
He looks toward Bones.
We've been doing some research into the ziggurat, and were warned away from it.
He furrows his brows, but nods slowly. I see.
Danger too great for even capable adventurers such as ourselves. That was Omu?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the ziggurat.
No, the machine is in Omo, and that's where we were told we would die.
Okay, never mind. Disregard all that. I apparently had my locations
Redacted!
crossed. Apparently I had my locations crossed.
It's cool. No worries. Yep, dialing back. I see no reason why we cannot investigate it. He goes and he flips the page and looks over the notes briefly. The complete breadth of the King of Feathers' domain has not been properly estimated. It is possible that he could appear, and likely that he will. And it is likely, considering the size of our caravan and the noise we will inevitably make. As it stands, current orders are to intercept and drive him off as soon as the caravan hits Camp Righteous.
Why don't we just kill him?
Vanya's side-eyeing Verdi right now.
Alina's just looking at Roar, laughing a little bit.
I look over at all of my party members, and I just go, oh, well, we've killed a lot of Jaggy, and a large alpha Jaggy, and imbued huge alpha Jaggy. One large predator doesn't seem too much different from the others.
And Biff's bunch of ghosts. It's not that hard.
These ones have slain a dragon.
I'd rather take on 2 Zilruses than come across the King of Feathers unprepared. Again. And she'll motion to her face.
Unprepared is the operating term. If the King of Feathers can be neutralized without risk to the caravan. He kind of nods at you, Roar.
What do I get if we take him down and I have parts?
He just kind of blinks. Edelweissen cackles. Oh man, we're negotiating! Oh man! How much do I have in my savings?
I mean, I have a lot of other parts from Jaggies and such that I know people want to buy. So, I figure something named King of Feathers would be much better. Does the others?
Monty kind of rubs his chin a little bit. I've always kind of wanted to mount his jaw on my shoulder like a pauldron. I mean, I'll kick you a few couple hundred gold, yeah.
I mean, if his jaw's gonna fit on your shoulder, he's not all that big.
I mean, you'd have to, like, cut it down and shape it a little bit. My shoulders aren't that narrow, man.
Also, Monty, it doesn't count if you pay someone to kill it. Just saying.
Excuse me, if it's dead, and, way to move the goalpost, God.
Well, you remember how big the great Jaggies are, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Think of that. But larger. 2, 3 times.
I mean, that lightning Jaggy was 2 or 3 times the great Jaggy size.
He
Can
is
it be-
massive.
Zilurus massive or Aramag massive?
Not nearly as massive as them, but for a creature in the jungle, if you are not careful, he will kill you.
Can it be suplexed?
No, I
Dibs.
tried.
Norixus is just blinking. Just blinking rapidly as these conversations just blip in and out of existence. He flips his notes.
What if the three of these ones were to work together?
I'm sure we could overcome it, no problem.
If you
We work together. However, if we encounter it and we are separated, less than 3, it is a challenge.
You first. You first.
We surely have ways to be sure we come back together quickly. We will not take it if we are not prepared. That is simply knowledge. That is obvious.
Then you will outrun it?
Why? Why would you have? But if you like,
I
I look over at Verity and I point to Verity and I point to Bones. If you two are doing your sneaking thing, we could just be in the hole in one of your pockets. And if you happen to sneak in here the feather, you just throw the hole on the ground, open it up, and say, kill it. And we pop out, and we kill it. We're all there all at once. No one's alone.
You do like that portable hole very much. You incorporate it to all your plans.
I mean, it makes things a lot more simpler.
I see you are all quite confident in your proficiencies, and I have seen you fight. I do not doubt that it is possible to take the beast down. My concern, foremost, is of the safety of the caravan. If the King of Feathers is attacked and is not destroyed, it may run. It may attempt, in its panic, while cornered, something tremendously stupid. I will leave the call in your hands. If the King of Feathers can be removed from the jungle, that would allow for ease of travel. It would be a great boon to Nyanzaru and New Haven, if I may be so bold as to suggest. As far as compensation goes, I do believe that Thorak, Forge Master Redstone, is familiar with the crafting of beast parts into weapons. There are a number, he gestures toward Monty, of people among the Commission and the local civilians who would pay good money to see the beast felled.
If not, we will absolutely make sure the safety of the caravan is top priority. But do not be surprised if we return with carcass. It's kind of what we do.
That will help alleviate our burden of rations. That said, we plan on remaining in Camp Righteous for a day, 2 at tops. That will give us time, give you time, if you so choose, to investigate the King of Feathers, his current behavior, his habitat, perhaps even attack and fell the beast. Simultaneously, we still do not know what happened at Camp Vengeance. While we were out, I would ask, if possible, that a number of blackguards investigate just what's happening over there. It does not sit well with me, the idea of moving south and past Camp Vengeance while something unknown has happened there. I would not want to open our flank to some mystery threat.
DM, quick question. Camp Vengeance was the one that had the dwarves in it, yes?
Yeah, the one where the rumors about the dwarves had all gone missing. There had been a brief visit there. You guys had not visited, but the researchers at Camp Righteous, 2 of them visited Camp Vengeance, come back with no information, but they also admitted that they really didn't look around because they got some really bad vibes.
Yeah, there was that one lady living on the edge, and that was
Yes, you scryed. I believe was it scrying or was it Poe?
It was Poe. Poe flew over, and I thought someone actually got close enough to talk to her, but maybe not.
No, I think Poe watched her from a distance.
Yeah. So, was that noted in Verity's note read out of the situation, or Bones read out of the situation that they know of?
Oh yeah, that would be known.
Okay.
It's still an unknown though.
I will actually raise my hand, and then I will move my robes and I'll point at my belt. This is dwarven make.
Torrin squints and looks up at you. Where did you come across that?
The grung in the flooded basin that were looking for wood when we were trading for things. It was among the things that they had.
One moment. I recognize that belt. That looks to... I believe that belonged to Foreman Stone Shoulder. He was in charge of the operations there. The employer of the Vengeful Pickaxe Mining Company. You say the grung were in possession of that?
Yes. And there was washed out buildings and other floating detritus that they were harvesting. But that just happened to be a shiny that one of them had. They did not say how they had gotten it, but I have not known a dwarf to give up something.
Absolutely not. And absolutely not Stone Shoulder. He is a greedy man. He would not part with his goods, not unless it killed him. This is troubling.
Oh. There was, as we left Camp Vengeance, there were grung hunting, following, stalking us from the shore.
He nods a little bit. My take of them, I would assume, they would seem like ambushers, employing poison, employing darkness. I do not think they would attack you directly. And yet, that they would come across that artifact, I cannot say one way or another.
Might have been scavenged from something else.
Perhaps. Still, if something were to cause Stone Shoulder to part with that, or to attack and tear it from him, that is something to be wary of. He is not a frail man by any account.
Is the Sentinel that's like 4 hexes, like 2.5 days outside of Camp Vengeance, is that the one that is actively moving but not responding?
No, that is one that is not receiving hails, if I recall.
Okay. Yeah, we just didn't have any special markers on them on this page, so I didn't remember which ones were the scary ones to fucking worry about.
Got it. Can I tint one? Will you just let me tint one?
I don't know, hopefully, that'd be cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that purple one. That's the one that's gone berserk.
Okay.
And this red one is the one that is missing. It's the last known location.
I was gonna say if I had to have guessed which one was berserk and running around, I would have guessed the one that was down in the open plains.
Oh yeah.
Less trees to get stuck in.
Less trees to get stuck in.
But at the same time, less like to suck the life force from him to be managed. So.
And I mean, we're assuming there's still jungle around that rampaging one.
Yep. This map has not been updated in a while.
True.
At least not that far south.
Mm-hmm. Where am I with my notes?
Saving the Minecraft map.
Torin nods and he files his notes back down, tucks the clipboard under his coat.
That said, if you're willing to investigate Camp Vengeance, it would set my mind at ease. I am willing to perhaps hold out for a day or so more at Camp Righteous, if it means ensuring that our flank is safe and that our path is free of mystery disasters and giant dinosaurs. Is this amenable?
Bones and Alina will both nod.
He inclines his head.
Very well. We will chart the path. The broad strokes have been laid out. We'll be leaving in...
Check my map.
We'll be leaving in 2 days, on a day. First thing in the morning.
He begins to collect his items. Karen begins to roll up this map, put it into a scroll case. Ernest hops down from the desk. Shago goes to stand.
I think we all know our roles. To that end, I would like to thank you all for coming and lending your insight. You have done great deeds thus far, and we trust your judgment. If anyone should need me, I will be out and about, overseeing the festivities and tending to things around the town. You are dismissed.
Sort of, he sort of gestures to you guys, and he gestures back to those behind him. Jean dusts off her hands. Cairn collects his bundles of scroll cases full of maps. Ernest rustles his hair and begins to plod his way toward the door. Torin just kind of steps aside and away to watch as people file out.
Bones will try to catch up with Vanya.
Vanya is seated right there. She's been quiet and just kind of like listening in, like someone who's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, but I'm here and I'm paying attention.
Are you going on this thing? I thought you worked at, wasn't it Edith's shop?
Oh, I do. I was considering going south. I feel bad for leaving Edith without an apprentice, but I needed more time to train up.
And I kind of gesture towards the skeletons over my shoulder.
I think this would be a good opportunity to do so.
I mean, it really would. I could put some feelers out for anyone who would be interested in apprenticing for her. She could train up a new one while you're gone.
She is complaining about her apprentice all the time. Maybe not an apprentice, but just someone to check up on her and make sure the shop is running and she's not standing on stools that are twice her height.
Actually, I think I have someone that would fit that bill.
If you do, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, there's a young tabaxi named Clover. I think he works in the dock ward, but widen his experiences a little bit.
If he is in need of some firm discipline, then Edith can certainly provide that as well.
I don't know. We'll see. I wanted to talk to you about a rare potion I'm on the lookout for.
Oh?
And Vanya immediately looks even more engaged.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep an eye out for a potion of regeneration. So I don't think Edith had any in stock last time I checked, but if you could keep an eye out for me, I would be greatly appreciated.
Actually, I was interested in learning how to make such things. It just so happens that I believe I might have an ingredient for it, but... Oh, that's right, I need to speak with the gunslingers. Their alchemists had some insight into how such a potion could be crafted. I may be able to assist with that.
I would be willing to pay handsomely for it. In gold or favors.
Excellent. We'll work something out. Let me verify that it can be made first, and you will be the first person I speak to once I have some insight into it.
Wonderful, thank you.
This one also has something to discuss with these ones.
You talking to everybody?
Yeah, mostly just the people around him. He's kind of looking like, did all the commissioners leave? Or just
They
the ones
have.
whose tokens have disappeared?
Yeah, they've begun to file out. Shago makes his way out, leaves. Leonard actually approaches Biff while Vanya and Bones are having the conversation, and he gives Biff a quick jab on the shoulder. Hey, I heard you're calling me out. I got a date with 3 gnomes in a trench coat, but maybe after that we can,
You know, Biff chuckles. Uh, blame Adam Mac. He demands some kind of ritualistic fight to some nonsense. Biff tried to dissuade them against it, and you've perhaps the strongest person I know, other than the lady next to me, because by then he had moved over to Alina, because he was going to talk to her. Um, Alina, if you're not busy, does not matter. If you feel like a spar,
Well, I'm always down for a fight.
Holy shit, a fight for Aramag, though? I'm gonna go get my bronzer, I'm gonna get my best knot shirt, and I am gonna definitely put on a really good performance then.
well, there you have it. You and Biff can fight another time, Alina. But this guy accepts the challenge, and Biff must go with that one.
Of course, you have to work your way up to me. And Alina will give him a wink as she heads out.
That's rude, that's rude, that's rude.
Oh, Lena, wait.
Wait, Biff actually want to talk to you too.
All right.
That was actually very appropriate.
Uh, but yeah, what's his name? Karn is talking before Biff is able to speak up about what he wants. So
Karn is like, he's like watching all the commissioners leave and kind of leaning forward, giving very obvious signs that he has something secret to share and is unsure about it. And then they all leave, and then he pauses and looks at Vanya and blinks, and this one does not know this one.
You have met Vanya. She's my friend.
Oh,
It was some weeks ago before we left. It was very brief.
Alina will just chime up. Oh, go ahead.
You can trust her.
I will second that if you're curious.
Karn nods and looks over at Alina.
Alina is aware of this as well. This one has a passenger. This one has promised aid to a people in the city. This one,
he looks over at Bones.
first, there is a market for spell shards that could be very helpful to these people. Perhaps trade could be set up with the Red Clay clan once these ones return to New Haven. That is the simpler problem. This one would also like to search out entities in the jungle. One is called Grab and Stab. The other is a matriarch. The Ciela, this one believes. Either one would be useful to helping this one solve a big problem for this one's friend, the Rua, who is a passenger in this one's shadow.
You've taken on another passenger.
In your shadow?
Wait, wasn't that the one you said took your...
Yes, this one regained those memories. They are complicated, but this one knows that this one is a warden, not a guardian.
There is difference?
Yes. This one could not explain it, though.
Alina just nods.
So does Biff.
What? But not from here, Warden.
No. Those are guardians. They guard.
No, I thought they were called wardens.
Perhaps once. This is why this one can't explain the difference. There is much this one has left to know. This one still needs to find the Guardians.
Is there one who would know?
The Guardians, perhaps. It's complicated.
So it does seem.
The problem of the Rua in this one's shadow may be simpler to solve if these ones can find the matriarch or the priestess.
And this would be the grab stab you just mentioned.
The grab stab is the priestess. The grab stab is mad. The matriarch is the Ciela.
And why is this grab stab mad?
The jungle.
What did the jungle ever do to this grab stab?
I think he means crazy, not angry.
Oh!
Yes. Perhaps a little of both. This one is not entirely sure. But from what this one hears, the grab stab is very unfriendly and likes to play tricks on people. Mean tricks. But the grab stab might know how to restore the Rua. The matriarch would be the better person to find, but there has not been word of the matriarch in very long.
That bodes ill. Would this grab stab be even willing to help?
The grab stab might need some persuasion.
Persuasion, yes.
Have you tried looking into your orb to find the grab stab?
There's a long silence. Then Karn quietly pulls out the globe of thunder.
You have not looked into the orb?
To be fair, it's only been maybe a few hours of daylight.
That is fair. Like, did you not even check your purse for your keys?
I mean, it's Karn, so...
Only been a few hours of daylight. Karn should have been up by now.
Diff wasn't going to mention it. Diff was going to let it go.
Birdie's making up excuses for Karn because Karn's not going to have any.
He did refresh his abilities at dawn, so...
Yeah.
I don't even know where I can find this info now.
About the globe?
Yeah.
Journals.
It's not in items.
It's under journals.
Journals.
Yeah, journals, items, wonders item.
Oh, items. I didn't see. Everything was colored, and I didn't see the black folder.
Got it.
There we go. This one could use the globe to find the Ciela.
After a manner, I mean, you can, if you could see her and see if she's near water, and if something happens and you happen to notice the sky around her or other features, it gives us something to look for.
Indeed. What are the limitations and the rules?
This one is thinking as the player reads the card again.
Use it once a day.
Hey, you can use it to scry.
Yeah, you can use the scry spell once a day.
Oh yeah, this is a command word.
Okay. Karn sets it up on the table, holds his hands over it and concentrates on it intently. Observe the Ciela.
Okay. You reach into the globe and you watch it, and you see the glass grow foggy as the clouds twist and turn and twirl about. One moment.
I honestly thought you were about to say it, and that's why we're going to end it.
Karn, I need you to make me an Arcana check.
Oh no.
You can use your wisdom.
That is going to be better since it's not trained. It would be a straight wisdom check then. Yeah, 13.
13? Okay. The clouds twist and turn and twirl. You see the globe as it slowly spins, then spins a little faster, then spins yet faster. You watch as the clouds slowly turn black, inky, cloyingly. The orb takes on this appearance that Alina looks startlingly similar to the orb of darkness that had been pulled out of Sana. In that darkness, swirls of purple and pink and white little wisps start to manifest and take form. As you hold on to the ball, Karn, you feel the periphery of your vision grow dim, grow static-like. The imagery sort of phasing in and out as the world around you grows kind of dark, just to you. You squint and struggle and strain to see as you look through these colors, look through the darkness, look through this storm to try to perceive something on the other side. Noise buffets your ears, like wind blowing. A glimmer of something catches your eyes, and you focus on it. You see, just barely, what looks to be a room with bars forming one side of the wall. Bars made out of a black, gleaming steel, unlike any metal you've seen before. The floor is less like stone and more like glass. And your memories flicker to the front of your mind as you recall that inverted pyramid. You recall the cells where the screaming voices, the maddening howls, and the tender cries all coalesce. It's all too familiar. You see, hunched and huddled in one corner of this cell is a figure made of darkness. A faint, pale, pinkish swirl runs from their ankle up to their hip. Their shape is short, small, a small person, female. Very similar to the koboloi you've seen before. But you can't make out many details as the image blurs and shifts like static across the screen. The sound in your ears suddenly becomes a howl of noise, a cacophony of machine-like grinding, screeching like nails across a chalkboard, like metal grinding against metal, like voices calling out in pain. You are forced away from the globe, your hands dropping it as you reel back and take 8 points of psychic damage as the image fades away.
Death takes a single step forward. Is that normal? Do you normally do that?
No.
No.
Karn, what did you see? And Alina's just gonna move up.
This one saw a prison cell where the Ciela is being kept with bars of black metal. There were sounds, screams, not normal. DM, could I
because it was familiar to the fresh memory I regained this morning, would I be able to tell if it was the same kind of cell that I remember or just something similar?
It is unsettlingly similar. The purpose must be the same. The materials are the same.
Did I get the feeling that it might have been the same place or a different place with the same kind of construction?
Hard to say. You can roll an insight or investigation, but it's going to be a high DC.
I'll go insight. What's a 22 get me?
22. Karn, as you recall the information, as hard as it is to think about it, as physically painful as the ring in your skull is to recall the images, that place is not familiar to you. The make and the model, the purpose, the function, and the form are that of the prison. But you know that this is not your prison. There are too many very slight differences. It is slightly too unfamiliar. Which leads you to the conclusion. There must be more from the one you came from. And I think this is a good place to call it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Oof.
All right.
Indeed.
Got our work out of the way. Got some things done today. Thank you guys for playing.
Thank you for running in.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry for the rocky week. Next week, it'll probably be a lot smoother.
Roy and Karn didn't get to lord it over Alina that they got to talk to someone close to the Raven Queen.
Oh, for real.
Oh, the that vision.
Yeah, Puriel. Vision, yeah, that experience.
Well, I mean, it's not like Alina hasn't interacted with Puriel. She just doesn't know it yet.
I mean, she doesn't know if she's interacted. We know that we have directly interacted and spoken.
Keen-eared players know.
Then again, Alina has also spoken to an emissary from another god, so I think she might be a couple gods ahead of us.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot to chew on.
Oh, yeah.
Using the globe was a good idea. I always forget. Karn is always careful about keeping that globe safe and then promptly forgets about ever using it.
I gotta stop giving you guys magic items.
No, stop giving Mish magic items.
Stop giving Mish magic items.
This is exactly what Rory's here for. He's like, why do you guys forget about your magic? It literally is there to make your life simpler. Why? Why ignore it?
That's why we need the artificer.
An amnesiac, why he keeps forgetting.
Why did you leave your phone at home? Why even have it?
You met Vanya. You know her. Sure.
He can be forgiven for like not remembering a 3-second meeting.
Yeah, right. Like he met Vanya for like 10 seconds before they went and did a bunch of shit. So I imagine if I met a friend of a friend for like 5 seconds and then had to go like do a bunch of stuff for a couple weeks, I probably wouldn't remember.
Yeah, but what if
went over her apartment?
Oh, he did.
Oh, well, never mind then.
Yeah, he he did.
And also, Vanya's hot, so you have no excuse.
I mean, Vanya is hot, but it doesn't matter to
Karn does
Karn.
not understand what hot means.
Apparently, as Rua laments about her lack of figure.
I used to be hot.
she's so mad. She's so mad. I mean, by strange little gremlin standards, yeah, she was totally hot.
Now I got this clunky wide frame, it's just ugly.
Hey, Alina offered. She just got a
They
bunch of
did
people
put
in
it
her
on.
head that Rua would have to share with.
There's no room. She's worse than Tab.
She is worse than Tab. That's so bad.
Oh man. Good game. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for playing. LB and IMs for more gushing and breaking down. Peace out, guys.
Nice. Have a
Have
good
a
night.
good night, everyone.